All right. I guess we are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the joint webinar between Eclipse and SAP. Hi, my name is Jed. I am Head of Business Development here in Eclipse. And if you don't know much about Eclipse, Eclipse is all about making digital experiences beautifully simple. Simple is a bit of a keyword here, because if you can't explain something simply enough, that means you may not know the topic well enough. So I hope this webinar is going to be a testament to that. So I wanted to thank you all for finding a time this Friday afternoon joining us. We would love to do something like this in person and have a few, like a nice catch up and mingle and exchange details as well. But I won't mention why we're not doing this, the C word, but it is what it is. So today's webinar is going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to be about how Eclipse Folk is going to be taking you through like how the state of the market is changing, what things we can do to improve it, and give you a few hits and tips as well in that space. And then we will be joined by our friends from SAP who will be showing you the tools for the job as well. So I would like to first start with the introductions. Please take down the names, feel free to reach out to us, ask any questions after this webinar. If not, the details will be shared again at the end of the webinar, and we're going to have a section, a few about 10 minutes in the end of it to answer any questions. So fire your questions away as we speak, and we will be picking them up one by one. So today we are joined by Swati and Lucy from our Eclipse team, and Lou, Sam, and Arun from our CP team. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to Swati. Swati, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm Swati Rock, work as a senior business analyst at Eclipse Group. So I'm here to give you some useful insight about the evolving customer growth and their needs based on the current market trend, in line with mobile, how the mobile experience matters, and also we will see how does this equation, mobile first equates to the customer first, works as an equation. So when speaking about market, the state of the market, first thing we need to think about the aim. What is the aim of the business? So over the period of time or decades, the most simple aim the business is tending to work is financial growth. I'm sure all the business who's there out in the market looks for having a good, fast, better financial growth. And talking about financial growth, they contributes to the bottom line of having a positive cash flow and also the sustainability. Speaking about sustainability is a big question mark, right, in this pandemic situation. So, and also sustainability, we can think about how to gain the cost advantage and the value advantage. So with all this thing in mind, from business, if you are a business person, what is important for you? Your product, your price, and your place. So you know your product. You know the price that the product needs to be set in the market. So you know all these equations, what price you need to sell to the customer. Next comes the place. So the place can be your social marketplace or your own space, which you would be creating. And as you see, over the period of time, there's a lot of people started to shop online. So COVID pandemic has pushed people to start shopping online. And we have more like 69% of Brits started to regularly shop online, out of which a greater number has been switched to marketplace, which is around 57%. And 13% are trying to shop with your retail website. So what is the catch of this 57%? Why people are trying to go for the marketplace? Why are they trying to shop with marketplace? So marketplace not just comes with advantages just for the customer, it also gives advantages for the retailers as well, like businesses, like a small scale businesses who wants to set up their business and start running. So marketplaces like Amazon, all these dominant chains like Amazon, eBay, Facebook, I'm sure you guys have heard about it and you have shopped with them and you might be one of the customer. And myself, I start shopping with them quite regularly because I avoid going to the shops. So I buy products from them. So they give a very good, smooth customer journey. You have a lot of advantage as a customer. You can start actually comparing your product with the other retailers as well as a customer. You can get a good bargain price. But at the same time, looking at the fence of your as a business, you just have a product. That's enough. You can just push your product to the market price. You don't need to think about you having your own website or own investment, having your own team who can work for your website. You have a product, push it to the market, you get your returns. And they give you all the set of tools like marketing. They do marketing for you. They give you customers as well. And at the same time, they help you to promote your products. So main thing is your products are reaching to the customer hands. So they give you a massive advantage, right? Don't you think with all these advantages, it comes with a catch? Yes, absolutely sure. There is a catch. So we have seen a coin of one side of coin. Now, if you start looking a bit more clear, you would see the other side of coin. What is that catch? Having marketplace is not bad at all. Marketplace gives you to promote your product, but at the same time, you need to think whether are you getting that profit margin? Are you able to hit the profit margin which you are expecting? So your product is in the marketplace. You are selling it in a very good price. Tomorrow, your retailer, there is a competitor who comes with the same product and he's selling it for lower price. Don't you think as a customer, you choose a different product instead of the product that the business is selling? Absolutely, yes, because always customer looks for a better price, better deal. So that's where you are pushed to put your price down and your profit margin goes down. And as per the study, we have seen that 5%, around the 5% of the retailers have been working under 10% margin. So that's not a great margin, I would say. And it's highly competitive. You're not just the only person with your product sitting in marketplace. You have so many other businesses or the retailers competing with you. It's not just other businesses, you have the platform itself. Take example of Amazon. You just go to Amazon site. You start actually searching for the Amazon product. They start competing with you. So today your business is doing well in the marketplace. Tomorrow you come back, you might see that same product being produced from Amazon or eBay, and they stole all the thunder. All your customers are getting diverted to their product. So you feel that the unsecure feeling comes to you. And also, it's not just the competition. Talking about customer, will you be able to build the value or the brand or customer loyalty? No, I would say it's very less likely. Today, I bring a product from you. Tomorrow, I can go for a different customer, to a different retailer altogether. So it's all like you have a limited access and you will be bound to do your business in that platform. You would have less customization or sometimes no customization. You would have limited page templates to exhibit your product. You wouldn't be able to put your interactive or your sort of intellectuals to show how your product works in the market. And also you will be just bound with all these regulation, product rules, product guidelines from this marketplace. And do you think your brand will have own value? It will stand out in the crowd? It's a big question mark. I'm sure it's not like very successful. I have not seen many brands being very successfully going on in the marketplace, showing loud, telling that this is the brand. So there are challenges as well. So with all these things, don't you think there is some sort of options that we can think about? That's the reason here we are. We are trying to think about the options, the better ways that we can make your life easier, bring some sort of new options to you, which makes you to stand out in the crowd. At the end of the day, your value, your brand matters a lot. And to think about it, we need to start adopting ourselves, build and expand. I would say these three are the main sort of principles before you start building yourself or thinking how you can deal in the market space. So if you can't compete with the market space, be one among them, just adapt them, just try to test your product in the market space, make sure you sort of reach your customer demands through the market space, understand what is the customer strategy, understand what the customer needs, and don't forget to think about building whatever knowledge you get in the market space in your own space. So at the end, you need to have your own identity in the market. You need to have your own site. So you need to make sure that whatever is being the traffic going to the marketplace, the customers visiting you in your marketplace come to your site. So not just building your website brings you all the customers. It might attract you the customers, but you won't be able to achieve the rate of interest. Like you won't be able to achieve that sort of customer expansion or loyal customers who come back to you with the great sales. So you need to think about that missing thing, which is experience. You need to think how you can start building or expanding the experience of the customer. So in order to achieve this, I would say it's like a process. You need to go step by step and sort of achieve this. And also you need to think how and when this can be achieved. It's not like one day's job, it's a series. So in order to achieve, you need to think about where you're going to start, how you're going to start, and how you can get this journey sorted. Creating a website is a good start, but at the end, you need to think how to attract the 68% of people who are trying to compare your product in the marketplace and they not returning back, how to sort of attract them and stopping right at your site, making sure you have those 68% of people. I think having 68% is amazing, right? So that's something everyone wishes to have. So as I said, having website, wonderful. Having 68% people visiting your website, wonderful. The next thing you need to think how you can retain those customers. Provide them a seamless journey where they can't forget, they wish to reach back to you again and again. So here at Eclipse, we have studied the internet shopper psychology. We have served a lot of customers based on the best experience we have picked up, understood what is required for the current market trend, and everything, it scales down to experience. Experience is like a color, I would say it's like a flavor which adds on to your process. And now to dive more detail into experience, I'm going to pass it over to Lucy, who's going to show you how does this experience matter and how does it fit in the industry. Over to you, Lucy.
Thanks, Swati. So as Swati mentioned, I'm going to take you through why when we think about providing a great experience, we think about mobile first and some of the ways that we can actually start to implement those great experiences. So beginning sort of in 2007, the first iPhones were introduced to the UK market. And since then, growth of people accessing websites and the internet through these devices has grown hugely. And the reason for that is that the devices are just so practical. So you're able to play games, browse the internet, and go shopping, all while you just sat on the bus, maybe on your commute to work. I know that I like to sort of watch TV or half watch TV and also be scrolling through, maybe doing my grocery shopping or buying a new top. You know, it's just so handy to have that device with you all the time. So when we start to look at the global trends for this, we can see that in the UK, we have adopted mobiles to about 49% of people accessing websites through their mobiles and 51% on desktop. So this is a bit slower behind the global trend. So last year in about October, the mobile overtook the desktop for usage for accessing the internet. And throughout COVID, we've seen a little bit of a slowdown in that rate. And that's because people have got their desktops at home, they've got them open. But what's still really interesting about this is that compared to the previous year, we're still seeing more people accessing these websites through their mobile. And then if we have a look at the global chart for this change actually took place a lot earlier. So about 2016, mobile people accessing the internet through mobiles actually overtook desktop. And that's kind of been the trend ever since. So not only are people sort of accessing their mobiles this way because it's just so handy, like globally, it's more accessible, it's cheaper, and they're just so practical, but also we got to think about how this is going to how other companies like react to this change. So Google and search engines, they're going to prioritize websites that are optimized for mobile, and they're going to rank you higher. So it's really important that you're going to provide a good experience for the large amount of users accessing your website this way. And also you're going to get an increase in conversion if you've got a good mobile optimized website. So it's going to make it about a 3 times better conversion rate, bringing it up to about 5% if you have a good mobile experience. So next up, we'll have a look at some success stories. This is a brand called Sincerely Nude, and the owner, Michelle Assar, founded this business in 2018. She was kind of frustrated and noticed that there was no nude clothing to fit her skin tone. So she decided she wanted to create a business that would make women feel empowered and beautiful with whatever skin shade or body size that they are. And she'd always used Instagram from a personal point of view. You know, she'd uploaded photos, shared things on there, and she realized that there was a lot of brands actually using this as a tool for their marketing. And she thought that this would be a really great way to captivate the audience that she was going after. So she set up an account, she set up an e-commerce site, and pretty much as soon as she launched, it started to pick up quite quickly. And she grew her Instagram following to 16,500 at the moment. And she estimates that about 70% of her customers are actually coming from Instagram to her e-commerce site. And what's really interesting about this is that Instagram is pretty much a mobile only platform. You know, you can access it on desktop, but it's not the way people are doing it. You don't get the same experience. So we can assume from that 70% of her customers are actually accessing her website on a mobile device. And Michelle's had like this killer Instagram strategy, and she's been able to drive traffic and sales through her website using Instagram. So it's been a really great success story for harnessing the power of social media. And that's just in the first 2 years of operating. She's not the only one doing this. So there's a business called Small Stuff, and they are a eco-friendly, ethical children's clothes and lifestyle brand. And they're based in Sheffield, and they have a brick and mortar store. And they also have an online presence. But obviously, you know, during coronavirus, that we were in lockdown and she had to close down the store. But because she'd built this online presence and was able to connect with her customers, Small Stuff was still able to meet them where they were at. So in their homes, on the bus, wherever they are. And they were able to send out packs of like home learning resources. So really relevant stuff that was just right for their customers. And they also won an award for most innovative business during COVID-19 for a cool thing that they did, which was Zoom gift purchasing. So you could set up an appointment with them on Zoom, and they would give you recommendations for, you know, a gift for a child, tell them what sort of products they had depending on the age of the child. So it was a really brilliant idea and something that kept their business going through this really difficult time. So they were just so adaptive to that. So next up, we're going to have a look at some more sort of practical tips and things that you should be thinking about for designing for your mobile optimized website. So we'll start off looking at the way we used to do it and the way we're sort of thinking about doing that optimization now, and also about how we physically interact with mobiles and how that's different from desktop. Some features that we can get on a mobile that we can't necessarily get on a desktop experience. So how we can actually improve that mobile experience to be potentially better than desktop, and also some real practical tips about designing for mobile. So first up, we'll have a look at the old way that we used to think about designing for mobile. So it's called graceful degradation, but probably more commonly known as responsive web design. And this kind of became the norm. And people are still a little bit slow to change. You know, people are still designing in this way. And what it basically means is you design for the largest screen, you add in all of the complexities, all of the features, and then as you move down to smaller screen sizes, you strip away and take out those features until you're left with just the basics at mobile size. But the problem with this is the most important information and the priorities all get a bit muddled together when you have all that luxury of space and room at that larger screen size, that by the time you've taken away features, taken away information, have you really thought about and prioritized that mobile experience, or have things got lost along the way? And that takes us into the new way about thinking about designing for mobile, known as progressive enhancement. So this is essentially the opposite. You start with the mobile screen size, and that's because you already know, like, most people are accessing your website shopping through a mobile device. So you want to give them the best possible experience. And the way to do this is design for mobile first, prioritize that information based on those mobile users, and scale up your site as you go. So moving from the smaller screen right through to that desktop experience. So when we're talking about a mobile phone and the way we interact with it, it is different to a desktop. So this diagram here shows what's known as the thumb zone. So this is where users can naturally reach quite easily with their thumb. That's all in green. So you want to think about putting the most important interactive elements in there. So things like a checkout button or add to basket, or if you've got any more complicated interactions like swiping or pinching and zooming, you want to make sure that it's in that zone where people can reach it and they're not having to sort of stretch really difficult to get to that top area that people just can't reach. And maybe as well thinking about who's actually using that phone. So is it something that children will be using? And of course, they've got even smaller hands. So it's always worth bearing in mind, like physically, how people will interact with the device. And not only do we want to think about the place of these elements, but also the size and the space in between them. So it's really nice with a desktop, you've got this little cursor and you can be really precise. But when you've got like big thumbs, like hitting different spots of the screen, you can't be as accurate. So make sure those touch points are at least 30 pixels high and lots of space in between them so that people can be accurate and not misclick and end up adding the wrong thing or removing things from the checkout that you don't want them to remove. Another thing to think about is the interactions that we don't have on mobile, like hover. That's not a state that we can use. So but make sure you're not including that in any mobile designs. But think about things that we do have for mobile, like haptic touch. So where you press down and the sensitivity of how hard you press could maybe bring up a menu or something like that. It's a new feature that's starting to come in. It's not sort of widely in use in the market yet. You know, people aren't quite used to it yet, but next we'll have a look at some things that people are used to. So mobile cameras, I think it's been a huge benefit to have for a mobile device compared to a desktop. So in this video here, we can see that somebody is taking an image of a skirt and then uploading it to ASOS's search. And then when they do that, they'll be served a list of products that are visually similar to whatever the picture is that they've taken. And this is a really nice way to let customers quickly search something without having to type anything, or maybe they're on the go, they just quickly snap a picture of it. There's sort of skipping out that in between of having to type it out. And on a similar sort of vein to that, I guess, is thinking about implementing credit card and debit card scanning. So you might have seen this, but you can put your debit card or credit card out and use the camera from your phone to scan that information and pick up those numbers from the card. And what's great about that is, like, who likes, you know, typing in 16-digit numbers? There's like so many errors can come in there. It's a real pain point and a big frustration for users to do that. And the aim here is to make that checkout process as smooth as possible. So quickly take a picture, looks good, and you're already moving on to the next step. And similarly to that, you know, using the camera to actually view products in your surroundings. So using AR to do this. So I'm sure you've all heard of like Pokemon Go, and, you know, you can see Pikachu in your bedroom or doing that type of thing. But how can we apply that to commerce? So IKEA, Amazon, Wayfair are all using this, and a lot of it for furniture. So you can take your camera, look around your room, and place a piece of furniture in your surroundings to see how the size and scale compares. But could you even take this a step further? You know, having people try on a hat or some sunglasses. There's real big possibilities within that area to get people really engaging and getting a good idea of what your product is. So finally, looking at a little bit more of the nitty gritty of things that you can do to optimize and make that great mobile experience. So when we talked about progressive enhancement, we thought about like keeping the most important information. And that's really important when you don't have much space. So keeping just the journeys that you want the users to take on the screen and not adding in loads of stuff that's going to confuse them. And also thinking about the type of connection that people have when they're accessing your website. So if we look at the graph on the left, that shows the network coverage across the UK. And at first you look and you think, oh yeah, it looks pretty good. You know, we've got plenty of 4G and 5G. But actually, when you look a little bit closer, there's quite a few patches in there. And a lot of people live in those patches, especially towards the north and the far east and the far west of the country. And think about people traveling as well. Like when you're on the train, I mean, the trains claim to have Wi-Fi, but I always have a really terrible connection on there. So you want to make sure that that experience that people with that poorer connection is still going to be a good one. So not making it overly complex, not lots of rich media, but something that's going to load quickly and get them the information that they want. But similarly, those people who do have a good connection, you know, maybe they've got 5G, they're in central London, they've got Wi-Fi, you want to give them a rich experience. So maybe give the option, you know, view full experience. You got to give people options for where they are. And finally, thinking about the type of interactions that people are going to have. So if you're typing in numbers, for example, maybe you've got a mobile phone number to put in, give them the numerical keyboard. You know, it's going to be a lot easier to input those numbers with that nice numerical keyboard. And also making use of the native UI that comes with their operating system. So, you know, if you've got a date picker or a drop down, maybe you just want to use the native UI. And the benefit of that is people are familiar with it. You know, they've seen it before, they know how it works, they use it on a daily basis, and it's going to be easy for you to implement that as well. Same thing goes for integrations like Apple and Google Pay. This is going to be really nice in the checkout journey. You know, you do 2 clicks like this video shows, and you've got your address, billing information already captured, and all you've had to do is click a couple of buttons. So it's a really nice way to make that checkout process nice and smooth. So that's it from me. I hope that you got some good practical tips about why you should be designing for mobile and why that's so important. So I'm going to hand back over to Jed.
Here we go. Thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Swati, as well. It's like really insightful stuff. And in short, I guess, like we covered how the market is changing, that you have to be digital, you have to be, you know, ready to address the questions and requests from the market. And as a small business as well, you know, you might want to use marketplaces that accelerate your business, test your product out as well. But as what you rightly mentioned, there is 2 sides of the coin. And, you know, you might want to, you also want to grow your brand. And I think Lucy has given really good tips of how to do it, good case studies as well. So in summary, you know, less is more. You know, people don't want difficult and complicated journeys. Like 21% of them, they would drop out if you're not really, you know, simplifying that experience. It has to be beautiful. People, you know, 40% who being asked, they would more likely shop on the stores that are nicely designed as well. And, you know, maybe it's not so relevant today when most of the UK is in a lockdown, but before the lockdown, and I'm sure soon, once we are out of the lockdown as well, people are going to be expecting to go into stores, start the conversations with the sales assistants, and almost pick up the same conversation once they pick up the phone and they want to continue the checkout. So that omni-channel shopping from either either whether it's your online store, your physical store as well, is crucially important. And you only get one shot at getting it right. Otherwise, people won't come back, people won't shop with you. So simple, right? Well, the market, the evolving customer and the needs, and as the title of this webinar is saying, is evolving and the needs are growing, and it is getting harder and harder to meet these challenges. And I guess a little bit demotivating for some of the businesses to even think that, you know, how do I check off all of these boxes, what the guys have presented? How do I even, you know, where do I begin and what's the journey? It's a lot of things to take into consideration. But, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. You know, there are tools out there in the market, and that's precisely why we invented our friends at SAP, who can actually demonstrate and applications that are designed to make sure that it meets most of these needs. And, you know, choosing the right application is crucial. I love this quote here: a wrong e-commerce platform is like a ball in a chain. It slows you down, and sometimes it completely stops you from doing what you want to do. And, you know, if you do make that right decision, you have an engine that roars. All you need to worry is about the paint job. And that is not, you know, you can take the tips and it becomes a lot easier and smoother journey along the way when you're trying to grow your brand presence as well, and the reach to your audiences. So that's why I am, like, you know, we're welcoming SAP with their SAP Upscale Commerce. And I will be handing it over to Lou, who's going to give you guys a quick intro on the product. And we're going to have a bit of a demo as well later on. So Lou, back to you. Here we are.
Excellent. Thank you, Jed. And hello, everybody. My name is Lou McMenemy. I head up the go-to-market for the product Upscale. You can probably tell by my accent, I'm not in England right now or the UK. I am hailing from outside of Boston, Massachusetts. So it's bright and early in the morning here. So good to be here. So just to get into this real quick, if I had to describe SAP Upscale Commerce in one slide, you could certainly read this slide and say, okay, I think I've got it. But just a quick blurb. The days of monolithic single-tenant on-premise software are now being replaced with multi-tenant configurable software solutions. And our customers have asked for a business-to-consumer commerce platform that is not only agile, but it lowers their total cost of ownership. It delivers more affordability, delivers results more affordably, and it can be delivered quickly. SAP Upscale Commerce was designed specifically for specialty retailers and consumer packaged goods companies who are wishing to sell direct to consumer. And the thought process is, I need something that is going to be up and running quickly, delivers value, and can you make it happen? The answer is a resounding yes. Eclipse can help you build beautiful experiences that utilize SAP Commerce. And utilizing also their artificial intelligence, which we built from the ground up, and that includes category management, merchandising built in, distributed order management, and continuity commerce, also known as subscriptions. These are all built in and included in the product, and along with the simplification of one-tap pay. So I see something I like, I tap, I buy, it's delivered to my home, delivered to the store. These are differentiators in the marketplace, the category management, and especially the distributed order management. So what the beauty of this is, I can build once and I can deploy across a wide range of devices, including progressive web apps, and we call them PWAs because we love acronyms here at SAP. These are fast and frictionless with zero to install, and they use the full capabilities of the device. So think about the swiping, pinching, being able to order something quickly, but utilize the capabilities that the device offers. And whether this is on a native mobile app, or I mean on a progressive smartphone, or also on a tablet, it doesn't make any difference. And they are reliable, they load instantly, and there's no app to download in this case. So they help to increase your conversion rates. And because of a better user experience, I think they also definitely increase those conversion rates as well. And lastly, with a quicker response time, it lends itself to a higher revenue impact for you. So some of the things you're going to hear about today, my colleagues Sam and Aaron will demo the SAP Upscale Commerce experience and some of the back end as well. But our artificial intelligence knows things such as to monitor supply and demand in real time. And you'll hear about the Mobigram, which is a mobile planogram powered by AI. Also, I want you to listen for distributed order management, continuity commerce, as well as category management with built-in heat maps. So we'd be glad to answer questions at the end. I thank you, and I turn it over to my esteemed colleagues, Sam and Aaron. Guys?
That's very kind, Lou, thank you. Let
You
me
bet.
start sharing. So we've been talking mobile a lot here, and actually what I'm going to do is show you a demo on my iPad, just so you get a little bit more screen estate. Exactly the same experience would be rendered on my iPhone instead, or my Android device. But yeah, it just gives me a little bit more space. Now, what we're trying to do with, or what we've done with the UI of Upscale is give you something that is really rich in content. You've got a boring text-based navigation system if you want to use it, but actually as I browse up the page, and I'm using my finger here, we can see we've got really kind of visually rich navigation for the different products. We've got a suggested category, we've got our different brands within here, and we've got what we call sort of like a mixed media section here. So we've got a link through to our products, we've got a range of different products here, and we've got some links through to different categories as well. I'm really only interested in getting my coffee. I'm running out, I need something now. So we've embedded Apple Pay as well. Similarly on Android, we've got Android Pay, but with a couple of clicks of the button and my face, I can place an order just like that. So that order will be going through into our distributed order management solution. It'll be working out where the best place to fulfill that from is, and it'll be sending that across to me. Now, the eagle-eyed of you may notice there's something in here for recurrence. So as Lou mentioned, we can very simply set up a recurring pattern of orders within here, so I can keep having my coffee delivered on a 3 monthly basis. But actually, let's keep going. Let's have a little bit more of a browse around. At the bottom of the page, we've got some mixed media. So we've got some articles about how to make delicious desserts. So a lovely tiramisu with some recipe ingredients in there, and then an AI-based messaging at the bottom to recommend the most relevant or the most interesting product sets that we have within here. So if I'm running out of, or if I want a new coffee machine or a cup or some pods, etc., these are right at my fingertips to add to my cart or to quick buy like we've seen before. Similarly, if I come back to my home page, we won't start the video playing this time, we've got some recommended sets. Now this may make a little bit more sense in fashion, but if we want an out of the box experience to kind of say, buy this product set as one outfit, or in this case, one out of the box solution to brew your home coffee, we've got that right there. We also let people customize it. So we can start changing, we can start swapping around these products very simply. If we want to, again, put a recurrence pattern in against that product, I can do that with a couple of clicks, add that straight to my cart, and check out in a more traditional form if I want to. Now, the recurring pattern gets really interesting, and what my colleague Aaron is going to show you is how we set up both the product management side of this, but also the recurrence patterns so that these products keep coming to your end consumers, but also keep them engaged. Over to you, Aaron.
Thanks very much, Sam. 2 seconds, I'm just going to share my screen. Right, can you guys see my workbench coming through now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hi guys, so my name's Aaron and I'm going to cover the back office elements, and we call this our workbench, just to show you, give you a look and feel of how the back office works and how that links to the front office. So to start with, I wanted to talk around how we actually built this from scratch. And I'll do this in a nutshell because we only have 10 minutes for this demonstration. So this is the site on my desktop that Sam just showed you there. And what I'm going to do first is show you from scratch that we firstly need to create what we call an experience. And an experience effectively is a container that holds all the content of the website, as well as your products and your categories. So all I do very simply is click add an experience, give it a name, description, and some basic settings, and that's step 1 done. The second thing we do is we go to our applications and then we create a new application. So I've got one set up here, which is a progressive web app. That's what we're demoing today. But I just go through the wizard and I have 4 options. Do I want a native iOS app, native Android app, a PWA, or an external app? In this case, I'm purposely going for progressive web, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then to create the application, it's literally name, give it a description. We link the experience. So I could actually use the same experience here and repurpose it for an Android dedicated app or an iOS app. I can put my custom extensions if I need, give it a name, but this is the important bit I wanted to show. So the application has Apple Pay and Google Pay in PWA mode as standard. If I opted for the iOS app, it would only give me the option for Apple Pay because obviously Google's not going to be allowed to work there. We would then scroll down and activate things like in-store, add your URLs and the languages. That's basically it. And then you have the option to save it to the server, or at the bottom right, save and download. And that would allow you to run it locally and then modify the CSS should you wish to. So they're the 2 main steps, and that would effectively get you an empty app wrapper shell. And the next step is that we need to populate that app with content. So if I jump into my experience, now we jump into the section where we manage the templates and the actual content. So on this part, we've got the option to have things like global components. So that would reference to a shipping banner that would be static across the site, or a free delivery banner, for example. But then we also have our templates. So if I add a new template in, we give you 3 types as standard. So we're looking at commerce today, but we also give you templates for in-store. So if you're running Endless Aisle through a tablet, or back office in-store fulfillment. So that's all included, as well as your standard templates. And I'll come to these a little later. So while I'm jumping through here, I'm going to go to the home page and show you how that's configured. So the homepage template itself is built up of multiple components. So let's show you what that looks like in real life. So here's my CMS component at the top, and we have a video, and Sam's given me the honor of pressing play. So when I click play, we can see the audio is on as default. So I'll pause that for a minute, but I had to instigate that. Now, as a content manager, if I wanted to go through and take that and automate that process, what we have on the right are a number of settings. So I'm going to go to behavior. I'm going to say for that video, I want to autoplay it, and I want mute on the video by default. So I just click save. I can preview, by the way, but again, purpose of time, I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm going to save that, and let's reload the page quickly. And that video now should autoplay. There we go. And as I scroll down, you can see the video is already muted. So we've basically built this, as Lou mentioned. This is a low-code, no-code platform. I will do no coding at all, and we provide enough configuration for a business user to make these changes and get to market quickly. The second piece I wanted to quickly show was what Sam mentioned earlier about storybooks. So this is a storybook component, and as he's already mentioned, this has 1 category and 6 products. And I don't know if you recognize on the site, there's not a lot of text, there's not a lot of prices and pieces showing, because we've made it very, very visual. So for example, in the anti-responsive example, for a desktop, we've got 1 category and a 3x2 grid. But if I knock it down to tablet, for example, it stays. If I bring it down to the next level, it then shrinks up ever so slightly to a 2x3 grid. So the components actually dynamically respond to the device breakpoint effectively. But when we go down to mobile, as Sam showed, what we now do is we're making use of the left and right of the real estate, so the swiping screen. So if you guys are really familiar with the old-fashioned desktop responding down to mobile, you'll find that these pages are infinitely long. And what we're trying to do is use the swipe across, the natural gesture, to populate those. So next, let me just expand this out again and show you some basic configuration on a storybook. And this sort of theme will go through the entire product. So we can see, firstly, if I click the product, it loads in line. We do this on purpose so you don't take away the journey, take the customer away, I should say, from their journey, and then they can go through their single recurrence or their subscription if they need to. But let's play around with the configuration here. So within the storybook itself, and that was coffee supplies on the left-hand side here, I want to say, I want to add in the product name, the price, and the buy buttons. Simple as that. Click save, and let's reload. And what that should now do is give me the ability to see those elements. There we go. So now we've got the price, we've got the description, or the title, I should say. We've got quick buy because I'm running Chrome. If I was running Safari, that would be the Apple Pay button. And then we've got the add to cart as well. And if I click it again, it loads in line. But I might want to change that behavior. So again, on the behavior tab, just further down, I can say expand it in the storybook. I can load it as an overlay instead. I could even take them away if you wanted to a product detail page, but I'll leave it as an overlay, leave that as the last little tweak that we have on this little section, and just reload the page again. So I'm hoping you're getting the gist of how configurable this is. I'm not going through every section today, but it's basically a click of a button to make that run through. There we go. So if I click the product now, it loads as a light box. The next piece I wanted to quickly call out was emails. It's exactly the same on emails. So I can go through and I can add components if I need to. And that includes things like cross-sell and Excel. So on the order confirmation page, you can also have recommended products coming through as well. And then finally, for navigation on the content side, we also give you the ability to have a different navigation configuration for slide out, so for mobile and tablet, versus desktop. And I can add a navigation group, I can resequence these if I need to. So it's very, very flexible, and so far, no coding is required. So now that was a quick snapshot on the content management side. Next, I want to jump through to a merchandiser's perspective, and this is what we call our Mobigram. This is AI powered, and this effectively gives you insights of how well your products and categories are doing. Now, this is one of my test sites, so the sample data is very light, but I'm just going to flick through. And in reality, what you're seeing here is the throughput on numerous metrics across all my top level categories. But I've only got two set up primarily, which is coffee and brands. I can flip through various metrics. So I can go through around profit, margin, sales velocity. And then if I click in, what this is telling me is my coffee category is doing really well, but the brands category isn't. So it's effectively a call to action. So let's click through to coffee. And then I should have some more metrics underneath relating to the categories and the products assigned. So Coffee Makers is doing really good. Even better though is this specific product, and these products aren't doing too good as well. So what we can do now is giving you the insight to say, actually, do you know what? Take these products, I'm just selecting randomly a few, and do something. So effectively move them to a different category, assign them to a different taxonomy, for example, but that's your call to action to know what to do if things aren't selling well. And the same applies, for example, and I quite like this one, to return rates. If you've got a high return rate, what's the reason? Maybe moving it, cross-categorizing it elsewhere, explaining that product elsewhere would work as well. So next, we're going to jump over, and this is very quick, apologies, to products and categories. So this is more a product merchandising led piece. So when you have a category taxonomy and product management piece, what we have is the concept of additions. So additions could be described as seasonality. So you'd have spring, summer, autumn, winter, and it allows you to actually build these catalogs out, have the products pre-made, and there's also a start and end timer. So when the summer season ends, it will automatically flip over to the winter season. Let's jump into categories there very quickly then. So this gives you the ability to see all your categories. We can see which ones are parents and which ones are subcategories. We can also see which ones are manually sequenced and which ones are driven by AI. And I'll give you a better view of that. So within our selling tree, I'm going to select my experience here. We've got two primary top-level categories, as mentioned before, coffee and brands. And this little icon next to this tells me that AI is actually driving the sequence of the products within this category. That's based on a number of factors, but primarily margin, profitability, and availability. They're the three key ones. And if I want to stop that, I will click the three dots and I will disable AI sorting. Whereas the coffee one is actually manually sorted. So the merchandiser is pushing them in their sequence. In that case, I can enable that if I want to. But in the case of where it is manually sequenced, sequenced via AI, I can actually override that. And I can say enable product override, and I can push above the AI sequence and put my own products if I think I want to push this instead. So let's very quickly come up to the end, and I'm going to come to products. So let's take an example where I've gone into the Mobigram and I get some negative feedback on certain products. So at this level, I can see my products. I can click through if I need to. I can do the same thing. I can recategorize, move to different selling trees if I need to. I can also see basic things like the product name, the description. I also see from a product manager point of view, the exposure through AI. So again, that's another call to action from a different team. We can also have a look here and see which products are on continuity, so which ones support a standing order configuration. So from this point of view, what I'll do next is I'm going to jump through very quickly and finish off with our standing order configuration. This is quite a nice niche on our product, I think, mainly because subscriptions are very popular, but like with Amazon Prime, you buy it and it just goes on and on and on. What we want to do is have a USP where people come to us for our subscription and stay with us for the subscription. So within standing order configuration, if I go into coffee, we can see the products that are on subscription. We can see the available recurrence patterns. This is all standard, but what's not standard is a leg configuration. So we call this surprise and delight. So on the first shipment I get of my subscription, I'm going to get free delivery. The second one, everything goes as normal. The second one, we might give you 5% off. The fourth one, we may post you a free sample. The sixth one, we may give you a discount code for the item for that free sample, if that makes sense. So now we're actually giving you something different, another reason to stay and keep that recurring option available, because we find that churn usually kicks in around 3 to 4 months. So I quite like that surprise and delight feature. So that takes me up to my 10 minutes. So thank you for your time, and I will hand back to Jed.
Thanks, Arun. Really good. I love the AI and mobigrams as well. It's like, it just showcases you which categories are doing well and which, you need to work on and improve on. Plus, the AI is helping you and giving you suggestions of how. So really, really cool stuff. I think we're going to be jumping now into the question section. We got a few questions coming in as well. So, hopefully it's nothing that we can't handle. So the first one we got, it's anonymous attendee. So thanks for the question. And then the question disappeared for me. Okay, so hi, what are the pricing options for SAP Upscale Commerce? I just checked online and Upscale Commerce is not available for purchase in Korea. Are you available in other Asian markets, i.e. Hong Kong or Philippines? Anyone? I guess this one is maybe to our colleagues at the SAP.
Yeah, so I think Lewis just answered that in line. APJ, we are targeting for the second half of next year. So we're sort of slowly rolling out to numerous markets. Europe and North America was our first. Part of the reason for that is just bringing the relevant payment methods online for that. So we've recently launched a module that lets you pretty much plug in, again, with low or no code, any payment method that you like. But yeah, second half of next year, I'm afraid, for Asia Pacific.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Sam. Hopefully that answers your question. So soon, stay, it's coming. And the one after that, I think this one might be more for you, Lucy. How do you know what got the design, how do you know that you got the design right? Is that the final version? So in a sense, I guess this is saying when throughout the journey of designing, when do you know that this is it, this is the final version and you can stop tweaking and playing with this?
Yeah, so the answer to that really is never. There's always things that you can be doing as the market changes and as you learn more about how people are interacting with your website, you can constantly improve and iterate on the design that you have. And I think, to think about the SAP upscale as well, that AI as well is going to feed into the design decisions that you're making. So it's an iterative process that is never finished, but there's always room to keep improving.
Awesome. I think that's a great question. It's just constant improvements, constant iterations, never stop learning, I guess, the summary. And then we got the final one. How easy it is to make customizations and extensions on SAP Upscale Commerce platform, in case you wanted to grow it.
Okay, Sam or Aaron, do you want to talk to that, or do you want me to? Okay, their hesitancy, their hesitancy is going to make people think that it's difficult. It is not. So SAP Upscale Commerce is built on open APIs. That makes it somewhat easy, and customers can utilize the back end, which is the microservices. So because this is multi-tenant SaaS, software as a service, I should say, SaaS sounds like a different term. There's there's the ability to do that, and it depends on what it is you want to do. So I think I might have used the example of how long is a piece of string. It depends. What would you like to do? Would you like to add additional payment gateways? Would you like to add in your own loyalty program or ratings and review program? Or perhaps you want to add an additional search engine to fortify the ability to find things on your site? Those third-party software tools can be utilized and integrated with SAP Upscale Commerce. So easy, well, I don't know. If I said easy, I think people would all laugh at me, right? Nothing is ever easy, but can it be done? Absolutely. And an example of something that had been done recently with one of our customers, there was a demand for, hey, I want to make sure that you are aligned and you can integrate with Business One, which is an ERP system. I also need to have some functionality whereby I can look at certain products within a room. So for example, I'm in a store, I'm looking at a carpet. The carpet isn't exactly the one I want sitting there, but I want to see the texture and the color and the print and the sort of the striping and that sort of thing. How can I picture that inside my room if I have a vision of that? And so I can go into a store and see that as well. That was an example of an endless aisle kiosk whereby I walk in, I don't see the product, but I don't see the product finished, but I see the raw materials, and then I can design it and build it. And so that's something that can be done, with Upscale. So the integration to the ERP, the integration with other, tools, if you will, and images is readily available. So yes, you can do it all. It's just a matter of what do you want to do? I might have over answered that question, so I apologize.
I think that was brilliant. Thanks for that, Lou. Well, I think that the final answer is it is flexible and it is easy to add these extensions. So and that kind of takes us to end of time, to the time. And I just wanted to thank all of you guys. Like, the webinar might be over, but here is the details of everyone. Please reach out, and thanks again for everyone that joined to watch this. A big thank you to the speakers, Swati, Lucy, Sam, Arun, Lou. It was really insightful, and thanks so much for joining us today as well. I think a big thank you also going for Graham. He was behind the scenes all of the time. He's the one that made technically this possible. And as you guys know, these webinars, we would love to be doing this in the real world, but well, the world is changing, and evolving customer expectations are growing as well. So we're also growing and keeping up to times. But in short, thank you all, and keep the questions coming after this webinar.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.